Okay, let me see if I can do this. I think it's been what 2020 that I was on here last, so coming on after a couple of years. Yeah, got some gray and white hair to go with it, but nevertheless, welcome guys, welcome to another Unibet Live. Excited to be back. Excited to speak with you guys, and of course, very excited to speak with a good friend and one of India's finest race directors, the man himself, Anand. So, yeah, quick introduction. Amongst India's slowest ultra runners, Anand is the race director of the Malnad Ultra since its inception in 2016. The race has been designed to sort of promote and make trail running an inclusive experience for runners in India and across Southeast Asia. The next edition is on November 26th. More details at malnadultra.com. That's MALNAD ultra.com. So don't forget to visit the website, read about the race, check out some pictures from the last couple of years, and of course do register. All right, let's get Anand on screen. Hey.
Hey Ahmed, how are you? Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you as well. Nice to see you. I think the last we met each other was 2 years ago because I missed last year's edition.
You missed last year's edition. Yeah, it's been 2 years.
Sadly.
Yeah.
But yeah, all well, doing well.
All very well. Can't complain. I mean, many others across the world have seen far worse than you and I, so can't complain. Just grateful for what we have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for Anand. Thanks for making the time. I'm just wondering why we haven't done this sooner. Of course, that we're approaching the 6th edition, so I don't know why it's taken this long to get on a live. But nevertheless, here we are. Thanks for coming on. I just wanted to start off with the background, like what brought about the idea of the race, and maybe a little bit of a background on the naming. What's behind the name of the race?
Sure. So, essentially the idea of conducting a trail ultra was, as many say, accidental. But my own personal experience and some of my close friends in Bangalore, fellow runners, we all realized that, the normal runs that are being organized in India and other countries, the city runs, they've all kind of got jaded, become too commercial, and the experience seems to be the same. I mean, very simply, whether you're running in Bangalore or Mumbai or Delhi, yes, the scenery changes a little bit, but by and large, the experience is the same. And somehow, the large volumes of runners and the whole experience of loud music and that whole commercialization of a run kind of got to us. And since we have been lucky enough to sort of experience trail runs, we thought it's good if we can promote trail running, because it is a different sport. Actually, it's not running, right? I mean, it is a different sport. And when we looked across India, of course, there are two or three other fantastic destinations. And right in our backyard, we have the Western Ghats, just 4 hours from Bangalore. So having been there several times over the last few years, ran into an old friend, Siddharth. Unfortunately, is no longer with us from Coffee Day. So he gave us access to some of the estates that they own. So everything sort of fell into place. So we had access to some of the finest trails that are available in India. And we thought this is a great way to promote trail running. As you're aware, we are all sort of amateur runners. And end of the day, this is not a commercial event. It's conducted by a bunch of volunteers, and I think we're unique in that sense. So that's where we started. The name itself comes from the region. The area of Malnad is essentially about 2 districts in that part of Karnataka. The area is called Malnad. Literally translated, it means land of the hills. So this is on the Western Ghats. Some of the best scenery, views, and of course terrain. And I think the Malnad Ultra is uh, uh, has sort of got the support it has simply because it's a combination of the terrain, the energy behind the event, and there are plenty of X factors. There's no network, you don't know what is going on the long course. There's chance of interacting or coming across wildlife. There's all kinds of X factors. So I think that's what sort of makes this event. You don't know what to expect.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you say, all the city runs are so similar, I mean, they're all sort of doctored to give you a standard sort of experience,
Yeah.
which every edition of the Malnad that I've run has been so different, even though a couple of the editions were the same course.
Mhm.
But when you say it's a remote region and there's no network and there's wildlife and there's all these factors put in, I'm sure it makes organizing the event, running the event, safety, communication, logistics, etc., very challenging. So, how has that sort of evolved over the years? Of course, being a race director, and this being the first race, and also growing to be one of, I would say, arguably India's largest ultra marathon. Of course, in terms of numbers, it absolutely is.
Mhm.
So, how challenging has that been for you as a race director, and of course for the team and the volunteers and the locals who come about and support the entire
Yeah.
effort?
It is challenging. There is a lot of unknowns in the background which participants don't get to see. I think first and foremost, I'm grateful for all the support we get from the estate owners and the staff on the estates. This year, we're lucky enough to get back to the estates with support from Kelachandra Coffee. They have promised to support this event permanently in the coming years. So we'll only be able to grow the event from here. Um, have a fantastic team. Many of our volunteers have come practically to every edition over the last 5 years. So grateful for the support we get. And I think we've reached a place where we actually enjoy the time together over those 3, 4 days because we get to hang out. And like I said, you don't know what to expect. In terms of organizing the event itself, I don't know. The best thing I can do is compare what it looks like to organize a Mumbai marathon, for example, right? So the challenge there is about getting support from the local administration, closing off the roads, all of that. But end of the day, uh, every meter of that course is completely accessible by a vehicle. So whether you want to move your supplies or you want to provide any emergency support, all of that is possible. And there's plenty of spectators. I know Mumbai Marathon gets a lot of support from the locals. There's plenty of guys to help people along. In our course, number one, it is remote. So our ability to actually even know what is happening a kilometer from where we are standing uh, is very limited. So consequently, most of our preparation actually happens before the event. Every person performing a role in our team has to know exactly what they're doing, and all the we play out all the scenarios possible. What do you do in those scenarios? And then you just trust the team to make the right decision when something happens. There will always be the unexpected. You just have to trust the people to make the right decision. So the challenge is, because it's 100% trail, some sections are not even accessible by a vehicle. So just moving supplies, all of those things, we actually spend uh, 4 days before the event doing all of that in the background. And we have laid some sort of values on ourselves, like we don't use plastic on our course. So design of material, we want to make sure simple thing, right? If we put up sign markers or distance markers the previous day, we have had situations where overnight some wildlife has disturbed those signs. Monkeys are very inquisitive, so if a monkey sees a distance marker, it sees something new and wants to pull it off. So These are things we have learned over the years. And of course, the weather is completely unpredictable. You've come to the Malnad. You could get sun, and you could get dehydrated, or you could get rain, and leeches are of course part of our experience. So there are many moving parts, but end of the day, I think what helps is most of us have reached a place where we do the best we can from our side, and beyond that, you learn to not worry about what is not in your control. I think that's a big part of this. Otherwise, you'll never actually get comfortable with where you are.
We're a couple of months away from the race. What's new this year? What's new this
Uh,
year? What?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're 4 months away. What is new this year is, because of all the disruption from COVID, for the last couple of years, we actually had to scramble to put the event together because we didn't know what was coming our way. We had to identify an area, mark a course, which actually you know, it was not easy. And working with local district officials, of course, they are very concerned. Uh, when you have several hundred runners coming from all over India. So COVID pandemic, everybody, the local administration they find it hard to understand why we are doing the event, what is the purpose, why are people coming and doing this, etc. But this year, I think we're very grateful to go back to where we started, which was to make this the finest ultra running experience in India. Number one, we have got back on the private estates. So our course is going to be 100% trail. It's 100% on a privately owned, set of coffee estates. So there's no public. So safety, simply because there's no public access. Some of the questions we get, ladies find it a little concerning. What is going to happen running on an event like this? But because it's a closed course,
yeah,
there's no fear, right? So that's one part of it. Second, we have been able to start our planning early because COVID seems to have relented a little bit. So we've already got the course marked, ITRA, all of that stuff taken care of. We've started our registrations early so people have time to prepare for this. Third, getting all the local logistics. So, getting partners for accommodation, travel, all of those things already underway. We should be able to publish all of that information. We want to make it convenient for runners to come with their friends and family because Malnad is a tourist destination. So even if they're not running, it could be a great family vacation
sure.
that part of November, right? Last thing is, we've always tried to, uh, you know, get the profile of this event upgraded, if I can use that term. So this year, one of the things we have done is we've added we're now part of the Asia Trailmaster circuit. So this circuit, for those of you who don't know about it, you can look up their site, asiatrailmasters.com. But it's essentially like a car racing circuit. So there are events conducted across 12 countries in Southeast Asia. Malnad is the first event from India that's part of this circuit. So it works both ways. Runners from across Southeast Asia can come to India and run in a new locale. And hopefully Indian trail runners now will sort of venture out and try out some of the events in Southeast Asia, which are, one flight away. So it should be a win-win for both of us. So and of course, we continue to have ITRA, UTMB. We are the only qualifier for the Western States Endurance Run. All of that still exists.
Yeah. How important has it been to get on the ATM calendar? I know Chris. Chris has been in touch for quite a few years, and there's been a lot of conversations, and it's finally happened.
Yeah,
So, I mean, two questions. One, what does it mean for India and the Indian ultra running scene? And then second, of course, what does it mean for some of the elite pro Indian ultra runners? Do they do
sure.
they do they get do they gravitate more towards this race and excelling in this race and use it as a segue into larger races in Asia?
Sure. So I think let me focus on the Indian runners for the moment, right? So people who have not tried trail running or have come to the Malnad before, of course, you continuously try to improve yourself. But having experienced Malnad, it's probably a good launch pad to try out other events across Southeast Asia. So, end of the day, my view is whether you're taking a flight from Mumbai to Bangalore or taking a flight from Mumbai to Hong Kong, uh, give or take, it's still accessible, right? So it gives you an entry point into trail running, and then from there, hopefully, you can uh, gather other experiences at other events, and then just grow yourself as a trail runner and as a person. Eventually, that's what it's about. Second, on the ATM circuit itself, runners accrue championship points. So there are two benefits. If for runners who want to, up the profile and actually get on the leaderboard on the ATM, calendar, they can use Malnad and other events to sort of challenge themselves doing that. The second thing is the top three finishers in our event for the 50 and 100K will get automatic entries into the ATM championship final, which happens somewhere in December. And what Chris has promised is not only will they get an entry, they'll also get sponsored to come to that championship final. So
Wow.
they themselves are recovering from COVID. So all of this hopefully will come together in the next 5 months. But that's
That's big.
really, it's a
That's
big
huge.
carrot. A big
That's
carrot.
huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. I think that really sort of raises the bar, and gives some of the Indian elites something more to look forward to, right? Because
Mhm.
people want to experience Asian races, go to Indonesia, go to Hong Kong, go to Thailand, and run some really tough races as well there.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. But then it would do the sort of the reverse as well, right? We would expect a lot of Asian runners to come into India, tour India, come and see our trails and come and experience your race. So is that something that, of course, you and the team are looking forward to? Um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
is there some preparation for that? Yeah.
Yeah, in a normal year, we do get 40 to 50 international runners in the past, but because of ATM, see, India is essentially a destination for many international tourists. India has this mystique. People want to come and get the Indian experience. So here is a fantastic reason why people should come. And most people who come to India, get stuck. I'll use the term get stuck with the obvious tourist destinations. But if you can do something which is a little bit out of the normal, like a Malnad, a trail run in the Malnad, I think that just adds to the experience. So people know that there is an India which is different from the city experience or Goa or the Taj Mahal or whatever the standard tourist destinations are. So I think this will allow them to see a side of India which they normally would not have seen. And,
Yeah. You also mentioned that one thing that sets this edition apart is that it's 100% trail. So is the course completely different from every previous edition, or are parts of the first couple of editions, are they in this course?
it's completely different, but it's in the same area. So for those of you who have come to the Malnad before, what we call the summit, right? So when
Right.
you get to the top of the summit and you look on the other side, there was a valley, and on the other side of the valley there were a range of hills. So that is where this course is. So it's in the same area, but it's right,
Yeah.
similar experience.
Do we have another summit so that we can look across and see the old summit?
I will
Or do you
not
want to
disclose.
give away too
Uh,
much about the cost?
Let me put it this way: there's more than one summit. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Why did
the summit end of the day was a short, I don't know, 600-meter climb.
uh
Yeah, I mean, like I keep saying, right? I mean, runners ask, what does the elevation map look like? And I said, find me a stretch where you're going flat. You're either always going up or you're going down on our trail. So,
So, I mean, since we're talking about the course, is it is it the same terrain? Is it more technical? Is it a little more runnable? Or is it, I mean, similar?
It's very similar.
Yeah,
For the experienced runners, it is 100% runnable.
got it.
Okay. But of course, it is all trail, and there are stretches which, the terrain is rough, but it is completely runnable. And even on some stretches where we have narrower trails, you can still run them. You'll probably have to run one behind the other. But because it's such a large course, even having 1,000+ people, you actually get that experience of being alone. So it doesn't, there's no congestion that happens on courses like this.
Sure. Sure. Another thing we missed out on that's new is the new category. So 30K this year.
Yeah.
Reasons, thoughts, and what do we expect?
So this is something we considered, a few years ago, but we did not execute on it because there was this mindset that, hey, we are ultimately an ultra, so why go include a category that's not an ultra? But as a race director, firstly, the objective of the Malnad Ultra is to get people into trail running. So the bar of 50K, which was our previous, smallest category, that bar already excluded a lot of people from the trail running experience. And what I realized as a race director is a lot of people, finish city runs or marathons, and they say, okay, I ran 42K, 50K, how hard can it be? But it's a completely different sport, completely different experience. So what the 30K allows us to do is safely allow, newbies or people coming into trail running to experience a trail run. And once they do that, hopefully they will enjoy it so much that they will then graduate to the next levels. And of course, the dream is that these people will never go back to road running.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And for this new crowd that wants to try their feet at trails and obviously use the 30K distance as an entry point, how best should they prepare for the race? What should they do in training, especially if they've never run trails before? What's something that you recommend, Bobby?
So I'm not an expert or a coach by any stretch, but I'll just share my experiences as I sort of got into trail running. I think two things that I would encourage. Firstly, don't worry about speed, build your endurance. So in your training, learn to go up and down as opposed to just running flat stretches. So find a hill if you need to go up and down that hill several times back to back. So don't just um, train on a flat course, because you're constantly changing the muscles that you're using as you're going up and going down. If you can do your training on a trail, because every time your foot lands, it's landing differently on a trail, whereas on a road, all of that doesn't happen. So it's good to experience that. The other thing that I would encourage people to think about, and this is not to think about time, but learn to walk stretches and alternate it with running, because you're not going to run the entire 30K. If you're a newbie runner, it's unlikely that you're going to be able to run the entire 30K. So in your training, get used to going up and down, and also to walk stretches, run stretches, so you can sort of maintain your pace. Nutrition, of course, is a big part of this. A lot of city runners, I think, get swayed by all the jazz that's available on on an ultra. Not so much for the 30K, but for the 50K and 100K, you do want to think about nutrition, and it's not just about um, hydrating with gels and stuff. You also, I think, need to get used to getting solid food while you're on the course. So that is something I would do in training. Learn to uh, eat, and uh, get your body adjusted to the idea of eating solid food as you're training. So those are probably the three things that I would highlight.
Yeah, and speaking of food, what can runners look forward to at the aid stations and the rest areas?
Yeah, so there's two parts to it. So of course, in the aid stations, firstly, let me, for people who have never come to a trail run, do not expect the kind of support that you get in aid stations on a city run, because our course is very hard to access. So our aid stations will probably be on an average 7 to 8 kilometers apart. In the aid stations, you will get, of course, hydration. Thanks to Univate for supporting us over the years. We will have Univate products to help runners. Water, probably things like, lime juice, uh, oranges, lime, sugar, salt, um, whatever fresh fruit is seasonal. Some, stuff like biscuits, peanuts. That much is going to be available in the aid stations. We do have a few rest areas along the way where there will be some solid food, very simple South Indian fare, uh, rice based. I know there's a lot of vegan runners, including you. So there will be solid food for vegans. It's mostly rice based because we have, when you're cooking large volumes and you have to transport it on the course, that's unfortunately the easiest way to do this. Boiled eggs. We also, have things like sweet potatoes. That's been a hit. So that's something we will have. So again, don't expect the same level. This is for people who have never come on a trail run. Don't expect, what you get in a city run, but we do our best to take care of the runners. So yeah, but I should add, for your own safety, for people who are first timers, always ensure that you have your own hydration with you. Don't rely on the fact that the next aid station is 6, 7 kilometers away and you're going to get there easily, because you never know what's going to happen. On a trail run, anything is possible. Simple thing, you twist your ankle and you can't move. You never want to be stuck without hydration on you. And
Sure.
hydration doesn't just mean fluids and gels, it also means some solid food, maybe some nuts, whatever works for you. But test all this out in your training if you're a first timer. But do have some support on you when you're on the course.
Yeah, and speaking about carrying, energy and hydration and food and things like that, is there any mandatory gear that runners have to keep with them, especially for the longer distances?
Sure. For all runners, we strongly recommend. We don't stop runners, but we strongly recommend they at least have some basic hydration. But for the 100K runners, we insist that they have a headlight or a flashlight. We do not allow runners to share lights. We do not allow runners to use their mobile phone. So either have a headlight or have a flashlight. It's easy because we will ensure that by the time you get halfway point, which is the 50K mark, you will get access to your bags. So you can pick up your light somewhere. Even the slowest runners can get their light by 5 o'clock in the evening. So you don't have to carry it with you all day. So have a light, fresh batteries, and make sure you test out your light, because some runners, they seem surprised when they see that the batteries have run out after 3 hours of use. So do test out battery life on your flashlight. And something that I'll go back to, right? Do not uh, do not plan on completing the course in a fixed amount of time. Many runners come with a set idea: I'm going to knock this course off in so many hours, and they do all their planning around that. Plan for the unexpected, because you are going to face the unexpected. So don't assume that. We've actually had fast runners who have come and said, "Okay, I'm going to finish the whole course in daylight, so I don't need a light." And then when they realize that it doesn't happen, they're kind of stuck.
Sure.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's something we take very seriously. Not so much uh, because of ability to help you see what is on the course, but lights do deter animals, and especially in the night, that's a very important safety aspect. Um, and of course, if people who haven't experienced night sounds at the Malnad Ultra, you will experience fear. I assure you that you will sense fear.
Yeah, and lights also help you and the organizing team identify runners in a distance. So if
Absolutely,
is lost
absolutely.
for someone, that helps a lot. So yeah, please do carry your headlamps and flashlights. Also, maybe keep a set of batteries in your drop bag at 50K if you need to. Um, And speaking about timing, do we have cutoffs for the 50 and the 100 and the 30 and the 30?
Absolutely. So the 30K is the most liberal, 6 hours to finish the 30K. There are no intermediate checkpoints. And so the intent of the 30K is just to introduce people to trail running. And we're very liberal. That should be sufficient for most people. It's a little bit more than walking speed. So it
Yeah,
should be possible. For the 50K and 100K, we take timing very seriously. There are intermediate checkpoints. For the 50K, there's one intermediate checkpoint. It's going to be somewhere around the 28K mark. And the reason it's at the 28K mark is if you don't get through that point, probably something like 2:30. I don't have the exact time planned out as yet. You're not going to reach the finish point in daylight. So we will pull you out uh, at that point. For the 100K runners, we want to make sure that you finish the first loop within 9 hours. So uh, that's a must, because if you don't finish the first 9K, I'm sorry, the first loop in 9 hours, you're not going to finish the second loop in 9 hours.
sure.
And because they have lights, the same cutoff applies for the 100K runners. You want to get through the 28K mark at some point, so that we know for a fact that you will get access to your flashlight before it gets dark.
So when you say 28K at 2:30, what time do we start? What time does the 50K start?
So currently planned for 7:30.
Okay.
Yeah. So 28K in 5 hours is a very reasonable amount of time. And if people don't get there, uh, it's unlikely they will finish the race. It's certainly unlikely that they will reach the finish line in daylight. So it's for safety. So for those of you who we are very strict with our time. So when we say 9 hours, 9 hours 5 seconds means I did not finish. So we're very particular about time. The reason for that is, it is the same rules for everybody. Um, so we do take time seriously. The other thing is, there are many people who sort of think that, okay, I don't need a finisher medal or certificate, just let me continue. We can't do that, because as organizers, we care for your safety, we're responsible for your safety. So we have to lift you off the course if we realize that you're not going to reach the finish line in daylight. So we're all doing this for fun. We want you to have a great time, but safety is important. So please follow whatever instructions our crew gives you. It's in your best interest.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Please do listen to the crew and the volunteers and Anand himself. So 50K starts at 7:30, 100K same time, same start.
100K will start at 8 o'clock. We may fine tune this, but that's currently the plan.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, and as we know, registrations are open. I believe they opened on the first, and they will be
Mhm.
open till when do you cut?
October 23rd.
October 23rd, right?
October 23rd, 10 p.m. And that's again, all the times that we publish are frozen. So please don't miss the deadline and then come back and say, hey, I forgot to register or give me one late entry. We don't encourage that.
Right. And so all the details will be on the website, Anand, for registration as well as accommodation, etc.
Yeah, so the details for the registration, the course details, all of that is already on the website. There is some sketchy information for travel and accommodation. I'm scheduled to go back to that area next week. I'll probably spend 3-4 days next week in the area, and I will come back with more details on accommodation and travel, hopefully with a list of names and numbers so people can contact them. There is a good chance that we'll have a travel partner organized next week. We're in touch with them, and that's something else. They will take away all the planning away from you. So they'll give you a full itinerary from Bangalore back to Bangalore.
Fantastic.
So all of that should be in place. So as always, please do stop by our website every few weeks. As we approach event date, we do circulate an information booklet that will have all the information you need. However, stop by for a few minutes every 4 weeks and see what changes we have. We do keep updating our website as and when we get information.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, and for those of you who may not have visited the site as yet, it's malnadultra.com. That's MALNAD ultra.com. Before we let you go, Anand, we have a quick fire fast five that we've put together for you. So whenever you're ready, I can begin.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Fire
Um,
away.
a race that you would never forget.
Malnad Ultra.
Of course. Technical or non-technical terrain.
Non-technical.
Uphill or downhill.
Uphill.
Your personal favorite ultra distance.
I've only done a few. My favorite would be the Vagamon 90K.
90K. Yeah, and then of course the most memorable edition of the Malnad Ultra.
The third.
The third.
Yeah.
Why the third?
Because the competition was intense. There were, the leads kept changing, and we didn't know who was coming in. We also had some really good international runners, so it was great to see experienced Indian runners challenge themselves against those guys.
Was that the year Paul Giblin came and ran?
It's the year Hayden and those
Hayden
guys came in. Yeah.
Corinne Malcolm, Laura Klein. Laura wasn't there that. Yeah.
Not
Okay.
Laura. Yeah.
Corinne was.
I'm that's right. I'm hazy on the names, but I think that was it was very competitive.
Very competitive.
And
There was a Scot athlete from the UK who was down.
Yeah.
I don't remember her name, but yeah.
I forgot her name. Yeah. Running Squirrel is her handle. I forgot her name though.
Yeah. She was there, and then there's another guy from the US with long hair, and there was Hayden.
Yeah, and there were some unknowns. I mean, we had never heard of them. They just registered on the site, and when they showed up, they actually did pretty well. So I remember that, and we had some fantastic Indian runners too. So to me, that was good, and from an organization perspective, I think that was the closest we got to satisfaction from our side. I mean, every year there are, of course, challenges, but that event, I think, went as smoothly as I would love to have that again.
I'm sure you will. With all the experience and all the preparation, this year should go as smooth as well. But I see a couple of people messaging in the chat room. So yeah, if you guys are watching and if you have any questions for Anand, maybe we can try and pass on just a couple of questions. If anyone's there, I see Rahul and I see Bala Subramaniam dropped in a couple of messages. So any questions?
You'll be reading these? I'm not sure I can see these questions from where I am.
Yeah, I can see them on this admin panel that I have. So
okay.
Yeah, so maybe we'll just give them another minute, and if we get any questions, then we'll pass them on. My most memorable edition was the first, by far. Yeah. Just because of where we stayed and how we started, and Yeah, and then just my personal race experience over there. So that was my most memorable.
Yeah, I remember running into you at one of the rest areas somewhere around the 16K mark, maybe.
68. It was a 68K aid stage.
16, yeah.
Yeah,
Somewhere I saw you sort of sitting and wondering how you got there.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was great, but you recovered dramatically and you did extremely well.
Um, there's one question that's come in. What new challenges can runners expect this year? I think we've covered a bit of it, but yeah, Anand, anything if you want to add anything to that?
I think the new challenges, I mean, there are no new challenges if you've come on the course before, but I can assure you that every event is different. Every day is different. I mean, the last two editions, there was continuous rain leading up to the event, and just the day of the event, there was like bright sunshine and it got very hot. So there's so many X factors. I don't think you should be complacent, and I'm sure. Uh, Talk to me after you have done the event. I'm sure you'll see something which you never expected.
Yeah. Yeah, and just to add, what new challenges? I think every race brings about new challenges. Even if the course is the same, even if external factors, most variables, even if they're the same, there's still a lot of new challenges because fitness levels are different. Your travel is different. Your accommodation is different, and everything doesn't come together on race day the way you want it to. There's always things that don't go to hope and to plan. So be open to conquering those challenges. There's another question
Yeah.
coming. Can you suggest? Sorry, were you?
If I may add, I mean, I know some people were disappointed that because our 100K is two loops of the 50K. First and foremost, that's only for this year. Next year, we will have a 100K single loop. We've already marked it, but there are some areas which are not accessible, right? But what I can tell you is just continuing from what Amit was saying, you can be on the same course the second time, and trust me, you will not recognize most of it. At a different time of the day, your body is feeling different, your mind is doing something different. You will not even uh, recognize most of the course, even after the second loop. I've done this course 5 or 6 times now. There are still stretches which I actually don't recall, and I wonder, have I actually been there? And then I look at my GPS watch and say, okay, I've been there. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. There's another question asking for suggestion on a good brand or good pair of trail running shoes. Um, I mean, there's so many out there. I think in
yeah,
India now we have a choice of Hoka and Brooks and Ultra and Solomon, and there's a whole bunch of brands. But yeah,
yeah.
maybe Anand, something more specific to the course and the technicality of the course.
Yeah.
If
So I'm going to give you a fairly broad response. Okay. For most runners, the first thing I would recommend is don't spill money to buy really fancy trail shoes unless you're planning to, uh, you know, get into trail running over a period of time. So just for this event, please don't spend too much money on a fancy trail running shoe. The trail is not technical, meaning you don't need any special gear, but I do recommend you don't run with normal road shoes because those soles will not get you through this course comfortably. You'll just add to the chances of injury. The next thing, there are some people who have actually, this is a common question, is this a course where I can use minimalist shoes and barefoot? Is it barefoot friendly? Personally, I wouldn't do it barefoot or minimalist, but I can tell you that there have been runners who have done this course barefoot as well as using minimalist shoe. So end of the day, whatever shoe you choose to use, I can only recommend that use it for a few months. Please don't buy a new shoe and come to this event. You're not going to do well. So you must have tried that shoe out for at least a few weeks before you come to the event. And as Amit said, I mean, practically every big brand is now available in India. How much money you want to spend on a shoe left to you, but if you are going to spend a lot of money, make sure you sort of use that shoe for the next couple of years. Please don't spend money buying a shoe just for this event.
Yeah, and to add to that, Sangeeta, do of course, use the shoes for a couple of months before you race in them, and use all your gear for a couple of months before you race in it. Your shorts, your t-shirt, maybe a hat if you're using one, nutrition if you're using any. Just make sure you go through all of that in training. Last question that I'm going to ask is from Yashas. He says, can the Buddha Trails 65K be considered as a qualifier for the Malnad 100?
Uh, Top of my head, yes. So this has caused some confusion. So what we have said on the site, let me clarify qualifier for 100K. We either want you to do a 60K or longer trail ultra in 2022 to qualify for a 100K, or a 75K any other ultra, for example a road race or whatever. So people have asked us, why do you have two distances? The 60K is a trail ultra distance, 75K is road run, or now stadium races have become very popular. So we've also, that's a good example of a 75K. But the Buddha trails, yes, I think we would accept that. So the thing is, what people don't realize is it's not a black and white decision. There are some runners that we accept based on their training, their history. So we might ask you for more questions. We may ask you to share your Strava link, so we see your running history. So it's not one-off qualification that we ask for, right? And one thing I will point out and request, please do not think of transferring your bib to others, because people have tried that in the past. We may not catch you, but it's not necessary. The whole idea of a trail ultra is, you have to be at peace with yourself. So it's not a competition. So please don't try to transfer your bib, because you could be risking, you could be putting the other runner at risk if they're not trained sufficiently to be at this event. So even if they slip through our process, you're essentially risking your friend or relative. So please don't do that.
Yeah, I was just going to add that the qualification criteria is only because of safety. I don't think Anand and the team are trying to be anal about allowing a certain group of people in and not allowing a certain group of people in. I think it is more about ensuring that you have run certain distances on trail and certain distances on road, and therefore you have the mental strength to sort of take you through what a Malnad 100 is going to bring, which is going to be, daylight and pitch darkness and animals and miles without seeing anyone on the road, self-sufficiency, how to survive when you think an aid station is just 200 meters away and you've been, walking or running for 20 minutes or an hour and you haven't, reached one yet. So these are things that you gain through running several races over years, and it's not something that you want to gain on this course. It's something you want to already have before you enter this course. So it's purely for safety. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. It's been a good 45 minutes. It's been a good chat. Anand, thanks so much for making the time. Thank you everyone else who tuned in. I hope you guys learned a little bit more about the race and the history, and of course about the edition this year and what to look forward to. If you have any questions, please do first visit the site. I do know Anand puts everything out there, so please do spend some time, go through every page of the site. And yeah, if Anand, if they still have further questions, I'm sure there's a contact
Yeah,
page.
there's a contact form. They can email us. We do respond in 24 hours. All of us are volunteers. We have our day jobs, so please don't expect immediate responses. Yeah, Amit, if I may take a moment, I just want to quick shout out to all the partners who have supported us over the years. So Kela Chandra Coffee, who have given us access to their estates. Of course, Unived, grateful for having you with us through all these years. Karnataka Tourism, which has supported us. our physio partners, our medical team, and of course, our volunteers and all the staff that helps us on the estate. This event is definitely not, would not happen without all of these guys coming together.
Yeah, thank you to all the partners and the volunteers, and thank you to Anand and the entire team for conceptualizing this. This I wouldn't call it an event; I'd call it an experience. To have the guts and the vision to think of something, to conceive it, to push it through in the first. I still remember the first edition very clearly because it's been my favorite. It was an adventure for us. We went there with backpacks and we walked and climbed all the way up to the rooms where we stayed, and everything was so new, and it was an amazing experience. It's not an event. Malnad is not an event. Malnad is an experience. It could be an enjoyable experience or not so enjoyable of an experience, and that depends on, of course, your fitness levels and just your approach. Your approach. If you're gonna get annoyed with silly things, then it won't be that great of an experience for you. But so yeah, thank you, Anand. You've given all of us, all the runners, something to look forward to every year. Prior to the Malnad, I remember, we used to go and train at Kalabantin and Irshalgarh and all these forts that are there close to Bombay. And we'd sit and talk about how frustrated we were because there's just not so many trail races. There were trail races, but not trail experiences. They were trail races. So Malnad and of course Vagamon have been two events that are very close, personally close to my heart, and have given me memories that I'll keep for a lifetime. So thank you, and thank you to Souls of Cochin as well. Shout out to Souls of Cochin.
Absolutely.
Shout out Vagamon. Please do, if you guys haven't heard of it, please look up Vagamon Ultra. It's been organized by the Souls of Cochin. Fantastic event, great group of guys, and very, very similar in experience, values, and ethics as the Malnad Ultra. So, yeah.
Thanks, Amit. Thanks for all your support. Thanks to your team at Univid, and thanks for having me today.
Pleasure, Anand. Hope to see you in 4 months. And again, guys, it's malnadultra.com. That's the website that has all the answers. See you guys on the trail. Have a great evening. Be safe, train hard, and see you at the start line. Take care.
Yep. Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers.